So she just used the mic?
Yeah.
Wish there was like a little shelf, like right here.
Oh, for you, just.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I don't know, you guys can hear me?
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
You all guys are also muted. Now you're not. Keep going.
Isada. Carol,
Here.
here. Dick,
Here.
Aaron.
Here.
Okay. So does the commissioner staff have any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. So does anyone have any corrections to the minutes from our last meeting on July 19th?
No.
So I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the public who would like to provide public comment on any non-agenda items?
I think we're okay.
Okay, public comment is closed. So does the staff have any discussion items?
I think the only thing Shannon had was what was already on your agenda. So that's the only
Excellent.
thing.
And then just to highlight that a little bit, so our next meeting, we'll be able to have Monica, our equity project consultant, in person, which will be so great. And she had some feedback on our vision. So really, I think she's the right person to guide us through that discussion. But also just the fact that we'll have her in person. If anyone has any issues or questions or anything, just mull over them the next month. And Monica's an amazing resource that we can.
Yeah. And Carol, didn't we say we might see if it was okay with the commission to go 2 hours?
Oh,
next
that's
meeting?
right. So
That
the
work for everyone?
it'll be 9 to 11 next meeting.
Okay,
So an
yeah.
extra half hour.
I'll make it work. I have to leave at 10 today, though. Okay.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could try to go to 11, I think that would be great use of time with Monica. She's really good.
For sure. Okay. Yes, I concur. Okay, so we'll confirm going 9 to 11 at our next meeting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so open space master plan presentation with DDJ Design.
Where would you like? Wherever. I mean, you can also sit here. It's okay.
Sit up here, Ann.
Yeah.
Does everyone
Join
know Ann?
us. Hi, Ann.
Good
morning.
Hear me okay? This is too loud. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Ann Lowe, and I'm the Open Space and Trails Manager here for the town of Breckenridge. And our Open Space and Trails program is in its 24th year. And for the past 24 years, we've been really focused on acquiring a lot of land, building a lot of trails to really build this incredible trail network and a portfolio of lands. And we've been guided by a couple of management plans, one for open space, one for trails that are really outdated. And so we are now embarking on a master plan process to combine those into one document. And we're hoping to really chart our path forward for the next 10 years. And we want to make sure that our open space program is inclusive, it's equitable, and it's accessible to all members of our community. And so to that end, we have hired DDJ Design to really help guide us through this process. And one of the things that's so important to us is making sure that we have a really robust public engagement process as part of this master plan. We want to hear from everyone in the community. We don't want anyone to be left out because it's really important to us to meet the needs of the community when we think about our open spaces and trails. So we have a little bit of an exercise for you today, but I want to first introduce and turn things over to Francois Decock, who is with DDJ Design.
Hi, and thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that. Can everyone hear me? So yeah, my name is Francois Decock. I'm from DDJ Design, and I'm the project manager for this project. And first want to share with you is that, I've been in the business of doing planning work for communities, especially in Colorado and Texas during the last 20 years. And where I always, as a consultant, wanted to make sure that everyone in the community gets to be heard and that everyone gets to be included. It has always been very hard to achieve, especially if one consider the access that some people do not have to be able to go to meetings, or that the economic situation just make it difficult for them to attend meetings, etc. And then with the digital world, that has made it sometimes even more difficult for some groups in our communities to participate. So in the last year, I would say, year to 2 years, I've seen a tremendous push from the clients, meaning the cities, the towns, the counties, to say we want to be inclusive, we want to be equitable. So truly, I think it's a tremendous progress in how we do engagement. I'm certainly a very, very much big supporter for that. And for that reason, obviously, is why we are here today to talk about social equity and how can we consider that as part of something like an open space and trails plan. So with that, I would like to share with you my screen, and let me just do that quickly. Okay, if the host can able me, please. I'm currently disabled. I appreciate that.
I'll do my best. I might just have to make you. I'll just make him host. You should be able to do it now.
Perfect. Yes, I should be able to do that now. Thank you. So I'm going to do that and click on screen 2. I believe that would be the right one to choose. Can everyone see the screen? It says Social Equity Commission. Okay, so first of all, we have on our team a sub-consultant called Civic Brand, and they are taking the lead in the engagement effort. So I would like to share with you a little bit about them. One specific item I would like to share, that Ryan Short, he is the founder and executive director for Civic Brand. He actually wrote a piece about equity in public engagement for the Forbes magazine, and was well received. And I think it just talks to the fact that he understands what equity what equity is all about. In fact, he created this graphic cartoon, if you will, that really helped describe what it means. So you would see that on the left, you have this image of people watching a ball game. But then there are these on the outside of the fence that also want to watch. But the concern is that, different heights, different lengths, not everyone can really see as well, even though they all have the opportunity. So they have equal opportunity, but not everyone can get benefit from that. Whereas equity is where you take what is the considered the opportunity, and you make sure it's truly possible for everyone to enjoy and have access to that ball game. So I think this is a very good graphic that helped describe what's the difference between equality and equity, because I think many often confuse the two terms. Well, the exercise that we want to do today and is an exercise that will not stop today. It will actually continue after this meeting. And so that's why the participants' names are all here, and we would like to hear from everyone after this meeting. But I want to go through this exercise with you so you know and understand what it's about. In fact, you will all receive a link to this particular site where you can change and add as you desire to do so. And that's a living document on Google. So the first question we're going to ask is, what groups do we need to make extra effort to engage? And actually, I want to start that in a second, and then just showcase how we're going to do that and how you can do that at home. The second question will be about what channels, organizations, or individuals can we utilize to reach them? And then we will talk about that, and you can add those items. And then we're going to talk about a specific topic, which is, for the themes of inclusivity and accessibility. What do you see has been the biggest challenges, greatest opportunity, and any low-hanging fruit with regards to this open space and trails plan? So we'll talk about that and then add some thoughts there. But before I go ahead, maybe I should ask, are there any questions from the participants today?
Francois, could you just share that article on equity and civil engagement when you send out any additional materials?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to do so. Yes, yes. Definitely can do so. Any other questions or comments?
Well, we did see the in your equality and equity slides, we actually saw those exact same slides in our training with Monica Williams. But she had a third slide because the goal, there's a difference between equality and equity, but the goal that we discussed is actually to just simply remove the fence. That's the final step.
Interesting.
Not just equality and equity, but actually just removing the barriers. And that's how we got to part of our mission. So thank you for sharing that again. It's a powerful slide.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you just mentioned to me now, because I didn't know that about that particular item. In fact, I want to add this so that we have it to remember. And what you say, there's a third one that says removing the fence. I like that idea. I think that's very applicable. And maybe what I would ask you is to if you share that graphic with me, I would really appreciate that.
I'll see if we can get it from Monica, but because the discussion was about how clearly we're not all equal, and then you can't give everyone the same thing and expect everyone to have the same ability to thrive. And then with
Yes.
equity, you give equal benches, but better yet, we just need to include everyone and remove the fence. So that's kind of our goal that I think hit home with everyone is instead of giving people a hand up, let's figure out what the barrier is so that
Exactly.
everyone gets to enjoy. So take it one step further. And it's interesting. I think it's actually really interesting that you showed all but the last slide, which is a good analogy for how we get there, but sometimes we don't get all the way there. This was actually huge that you did it this way. And then we get to look at that one more time.
Well, that's excellent. I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'm excited to hear about the fence being removed because I never thought about it. Why do I need to be a fence at all? So,
Right. Yeah, on the third portion of it, it said liberation at the bottom and there was no fence and everyone was allowed to stand where they were.
And
excellent. I love that.
metaphorical. So you can't always tell what it's going to take, but that's what we're really shooting for.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then what you say, the last word there is liberty. Is that what it's, what it says?
Liberation.
Liberation.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much. So, so the first question then is to say, what groups do we need to make extra effort to engage? And this is specifically for the Open Space and Trails Plan. So we went ahead and we started to populate some of these, what we call sticky notes. And the idea of a sticky note, it is small. You can have more text, but the text will just get smaller and smaller and smaller. But the point is, it is those succinct ideas that you try to establish and put down. So what we already populated this were with disabled special needs groups, the seasonal workers or residents, Spanish speakers, other language speakers, seniors, families with young children. So just to quickly brainstorm, any other group that you can think of that we may want to add?
Francois, I think socioeconomic position.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, absolutely.
Hey, Francois, would
Yes.
you consider changing disabled to differently abled?
I often hear different ways of expressing that. So thank you for pointing that out. So you like to say differently abled.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's some good input there.
I think that a lot of those fall under the socioeconomic. So a lot of the seasonal workers, a lot of families, even some seniors, and certainly Spanish speaking and other ethnicities, a lot of it is more socioeconomical than it is anything else. That's kind of the defining characteristic for a lot of people getting access to many of what we take for granted here.
Right. Affluent or
That's
not.
that's the big hurdle.
Right.
If you can reach the people, can they afford to
Right.
participate?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Francois, I would add people of color, because I think so often in our rec departments, you just, in all the advertisements and everything, you never see people of color, and I think there's a stigma, a bit of a stigma there. So I think that's a huge piece as well.
Absolutely.
I think people are afraid to say it.
And
I
let
was
me-
wondering, I'm sorry, instead of people of color, what on different races? I mean, I'm not sure what would be the right term or what would be the best thing to put, but I mean, I don't know, I'm just,
I'm fine with either or both. I agree.
And I'm going to show you how easy it is to add to this. All you do once you have access to that site is you would have seen that I was actually on pan, which is this one here. I can make it smaller. I can make it bigger. And then when I want to add another sticky note, all I do is I go to the second one. I first have to click on the pan. So you kind of cancel that. Then you click on that item there. It says text. You choose your color. In this case, I've choose the green, and there it starts to populate it there. and then I can go ahead and then I can close that and I can go ahead and type in whatever I need to type in. So it's fairly easy, and the whole site is like this for the other questions as well. But let's go to the next question in the interest of time, and thank you for the input so far. So the next question is, what channels, organizations, or individuals can we utilize to reach them? So now it's a question of how can we have access to those people, which is so difficult in some cases, whether it's a language barrier, whether it's that we don't know where they are. And so we need to know what organizations do know where people are that are in this particular group. So let's brainstorm a little bit. What type of channels, organizations, or individuals can you suggest that we can consider?
Right off the back for FIRC, it's an acronym.
FIRC. And what does it stand for?
Family and Intercultural
Resource Center.
Resource Center.
Is that something that's specific to Breckenridge, or is that something to the state or nationally?
County.
Well, FERC is Summit County, but intercultural resource centers are, they're nationally known, I believe, right? Pretty sure. I mean, I think in all communities, they look a little different. We're very fortunate. FERC is a very broad thinking, active organization.
So you've got on there channels, organizations, or individuals, and I'm not sure how many people have been around long enough to remember Snowboard Outreach Society, the SOS.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you had set a 10-year plan. And so, no offense, I mean, all we can do is plan and try to implement, but I'm always big on real implementation. We can make presentations all day, but we want to make a change. And I think something, if we could start with the young children and actually give people an opportunity, even that means getting bicycles. We have to actually get people there. We can't just talk about it. We need to maybe find out who's interested, actually scoop them up, bring them to those open spaces, let them enjoy it, and then always centering on the younger children has more of an impact. They tend to have a little more free time, and then that changes the future. So I think we need to actually go out, get those people who want to go and bring them, make it happen.
Yeah, and people that have already started the work and bring them into the fold and support them and broaden their work. Like SOS is great.
Yeah, but I mean, so like SOS, if we're talking about using open space, whether it's mountain biking
I think
or
we
coming out
engage
camping,
SOS.
or even SOS, but
Let's
the point is,
learn what they've learned.
yeah,
And then broaden from there. I would love to.
those are the channels. If there's something like SOS,
Cycle effect, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's where we should really start.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of
Remember
this
the
cycle.
name of it. I was just texting my daughter, say, what was the name of that program? So Cycle Effect and SOS are both great.
I would suggest RISP, RISP, and that's the Colorado Commission for the Deaf, Hard of Hearing, and Deaf Blind.
Is it again? Is it the Colorado Commission for Deaf and Blind, or is it something else in there?
Yeah, it's deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf blind.
Oh, okay.
You want it.
The Latin radio, I think.
Yeah. It's, darling, a quick correction is it's hard of hearing. We have
Hard. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, that's correct. And I'm not sure deaf is correct. It's not TH. Is that correct?
It's right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Francois, I think Izara also just had one as well.
Yeah, I say the Latin radio,
I missed. I'm sorry.
the Latin radio to reach the Latin community through the
Yes.
radio.
The radio. Yeah.
Radium.
Radio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you say. Yeah. Well, that's for everyone, really. You can reach everyone, but I guess is there specific channels, for instance, a Latino channel that one can
Yes.
target?
Yes.
Just for your own clarification, it's through Always Mountain Time Media, just for contact purposes.
Yeah, it's
On the
excellent.
lines of what we have, there are so many organizations that have dabbled in the space, SOS, Cycle Effect. I'd add Mountain Dreamers, of course. But outside of these established organization and these somewhat formal channels, I think if we want to reach some of these communities, it's going to different areas. So if we're trying to reach, and I've deferred to Joyce and Isa, but the Latino community would be go to one of the churches on Sundays to try and solicit them going into those communities. And also just informally, different kind of leaders and different social groups, different informal leaders.
And by the way, I'm actually learning as I go ahead because I now notice that actually I can have a slightly bigger sticky note. This is a bigger one. So, feel free to choose the way you want to. And then there's also a round one you can choose. I just see now to, if you want to emphasize something. But anyway, so you can play as you desire when you fill this in. But this is good. I appreciate what we learned so far. Let me just, for your benefit, just add a few more there, then you have it available as you go along. So let's go then to the last series of questions here. And what it is that, we asked the question, in terms of inclusivity and accessibility, what do you see, in fact, maybe not, yeah, would say has, you can say, what do you see is the biggest challenge or has the biggest challenges? Greatest opportunity, and are there any low-hanging fruit for us to be able to be more inclusive, to have more access, or for people to have access to public meetings and surveys, etc. Where do you see the challenges? Where do you see the opportunities? And where do you see low-hanging fruit? So the first one is on inclusivity. The idea there is to talk about, well, what are the biggest challenges that you think we have when it comes to inclusivity?
Well, the biggest challenge has and always will be economic.
Yes.
And, because of how this country was founded, all these inequalities always lead to economic inequalities. And those are things we can't just snap our fingers and fix. So that will always be the biggest challenge.
Can I add to that?
And I
Paul?
think to piggyback off of what Jason said, being that how everything our country has come to be formed, there is definitely a lack of trust in the various ethnicities or people with different backgrounds. Yeah.
And I would add intimidation. I mean, I think a lot of people are just intimidated to jump into this stuff
Yeah.
due to lack of experience, lacks of exposure.
Yeah.
Having
Makes sense.
a solid friend group really does influence a lot of that too, like outside of the economics. Like if we can start getting kids on bikes younger, like we live in Summit County. One of the best parts is when you see a group of 10-year-olds just stoked, like out on their bikes or on the mountain, and it's just them, like no parents around. So creating those almost like youth pods where they can go out and have fun together.
I love that. I think that should be under greatest opportunity friend groups.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Safe
that's good.
spaces to where
Like
people
with
feel included.
kind of promoting more like as far as like in the Latin community with churches, if they did just like a bike day, because I mean Pivot was just here yesterday demoing bikes at Carver's. Why couldn't they come or another company come and just do a local bike day at a church? Because most kids don't get kids riding a bike. because then they'll want a bike.
Right.
If they've never been on a bike, it's not a want that you have. You know, you're not going to be like, I just really want a mountain bike for Christmas.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, you don't have those experiences. You've never gotten that joy of doing it.
That's true. I didn't want an e-bike until I rode one.
The age bracket, not everyone can afford
Can
a bike,
afford
can
the
afford to
affordability.
maintain it, can
Yeah.
afford to transport it to where you're gonna ride. Those are all hurdles that most of us just take for granted.
But I
That's
think
so
if
true.
we can, especially with the youth, if we can find a way to even, because I mean, bikes are so expensive that you want money for your bikes if you're ever going to sell one. But it's something that you do grow out of or do want to upgrade. So find a way or a partnership with someone in town who's willing to fix up those bikes, or a way to kind of ease that transfer process,
Right.
if possible. I
That's
don't
good.
know.
You
That's a
know,
good
Jordan, I
idea.
think we could even take it a step further, and I've talked to Scott Reed about this, is have an equipment library, maybe at the rec center, where you've got snowboards and skis and climbing gear and bicycles and skinning equipment and all of these things that there's just no access. And it's free equipment, you know, and there's some level of checkout and check back in and, you know, but if we could create an equipment library somewhere.
Yeah.
When that happens, it will be big. It will open up so many opportunities.
And
You know what?
there's so many amazing trails just easily accessible outside of town. We have a bus stop right across from the rec center, so you could, you know, rent a bike and get up into French Creek, or, you know, go up Boreas or anything like that. And just to be able to go do that with your kid would be amazing. Just go rent a bike for a day, as, you know, if you're a rec center member, or figure out what that would cost. But
Yeah.
Hopefully it's free to
Well,
me.
hopefully it's free. Yeah, because this will be like a library concept with the
Yeah,
equipment
it'd be-
checkout.
You know that
Mhm.
Frisco Elementary during the winters they start doing this program when they do cross country for the kids after school, and they do it for a few hours. They were doing it for the season, and it was with the center in Frisco, and they were doing it for free for the kids. And even the transportation they were providing from the school to the Nordic Center was free.
You know, years ago, and maybe an opportunity is work with the school district. Years ago, the elementary schools all over the county, the kids had a choice to go skiing, to go ice skating, or go cross-country skiing. And, you know, every elementary school in the county took Wednesday afternoons off and went out and experienced these things that we all take for granted. And for some reason, the district got away from it.
I love that, Dick. That's
I'm
great.
dating myself now. My kids were in elementary school, but, so, you know, maybe the opportunity is to work with the school.
Would we need to talk to the school board to get that going, or?
Well, we hope somebody we can be on. this.
Okay, all
Andrea.
right. Next
I
question.
told you I'm not gonna let up.
I will just add, because I'm the Shannon for today, is that I know some people have to leave at 10 and we still have 2
Mhm.
agenda items. So just
Okay.
want you guys to be aware, if you want to continue this
Sure.
conversation, totally fine. Just, I was told to be the keeper of the time. So.
No, it's important. Thank you for doing
Add.
so. So let me just quickly then go to the other. So it's the biggest challenge for inclusivity. Remember,
Francois, can I
Yes.
just add to the
Yes.
equity and inclusion segment for a second?
yes,
A lot of the times when I see things like this trying to be implemented, I see, unfortunately, like a form of othering going on, to where like we have certain events and, you know, it's geared towards a certain group, so that therefore only persons of that certain group want to attend. And for inclusion, in my opinion, I really want all of these things that we're implementing to kind of conjoin together, so that not only when we're holding events or focusing on certain persons, it still opens up to the public, in order to create that camaraderie and that community, in order for things to not have to be this way in the first place. So my point is that when we're thinking about, you know, what are the low hanging fruit, what are things and opportunities that we can do, I think it's very important, yes, to focus on obviously the disenfranchised groups, but with inclusion, make it an event, or, you know, something that's appealing to everybody, in order to get to know your neighbor, get to know that neighbor that's not at the same economic status as you, get to know that neighbor that might be deaf, or persons of different disabilities, things like that, so that it is that way in a communal event instead of an othering situation. Because that would not be something that I think is inclusive or a growth.
Oh, that's
mechanism.
beautiful, Ty. So it's like
I
a
guess-
totally a welcoming energy
Yeah.
and interconnecting people on, yes,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah, I like
I
that.
guess just
How do you
like
articulate
a bit
that, though?
important too to meet some of the groups that they don't have a connection with yet
Mhm.
in a situation where they're most comfortable.
Sure.
So like as far as going to churches and doing some of the nothing small, but just doing some other events that might not necessarily get their general or usual crowd.
Definitely.
Because what you want to do is make friends in two places and introduce them to each other.
Mhm.
So you just have, the people who are very committed to the industry and they love it and they're just great proponents of it. And then introducing other people to it. And then once you take those people and bring them together, you'll just, the energy that they have from learning something compared with the energy of someone who already loves something is just, come on, let's go.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you're my best friend. You love what I love. I know so much about it. You're still learning. You're with me. Like, and I think that, meeting communities in the places they're most comfortable is just as important as having, more large scale events with people who are already in love with the industry.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think what you just described is getting to what Dick was speaking to, the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
So we
Very,
don't want to
very true.
create a space where people don't feel welcome when that's our main objective, right?
But I think
Yeah.
that's the goal, is to never be intimidating.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful.
Well, that's the barrier we're trying to knock down, for sure.
And right away, it is intimidating. Like, I think, like, we talk about, kids not having a group, but I think a lot of adults who come to Summit County, if you don't have your group, if you don't, like, I know who to ask about trails. He just left. Like, I know exactly who, but I think a lot of people don't have that person. And I think that's a barrier. And I think it means that people who have been here for a while, or people who are in certain groups, whether that be socioeconomic or white or whatever, they know who to ask, they know who to talk to, they're not intimidated. But I think it's really easy when you're new or you don't have the right friend group or whatever to get that information about trails.
And then
Also,
you can
sorry,
go
go ahead.
first, I'll go.
I was gonna say also more resources like access to, trail maps, and not just the trail maps like on all trails, but the local trails as well that we can give out for free at events and things like that. And also maybe even thinking about, once we dive in or they dive in fully to these, like, identifying the ambassadors in these groups that we were talking about. And so that way maybe the ambassadors can all get together and, discuss and invite their groups to the event, and, they're
Right.
kind of in more of a safe space at that point. So
It makes trail
I would
cleanup.
say in multiple languages for the maps.
And the one that I think we should add on the bigger challenges is also the legal status. People who doesn't have any legal status, I think that they should know that they are also able to enjoy everything. That it doesn't matter. Right.
So I think
So-
like,
Because I think a lot of people sometimes think just because they don't have any status, they don't have any right to enjoy anything. And I think that's also in our community one of the biggest challenges that we have. And I don't know if that will go with intimidation
Yes.
or,
Yeah, I was about to say probably put ignorance and fear probably could be part of the challenge.
Ignorance and fear. Yeah, that's what it is. Very small now because I try to see the big picture, but I'm going to add it nonetheless. But this is maybe a good time to just see the big picture, that what we spoke about now was what extra effort is needed, who should we try to work through to be able to get to these people, and then for inclusivity we had a good discussion about biggest challenges, greatest opportunity, low hanging fruit. But if you can do that for accessibility as well, and what we mean by accessibility is not accessibility to the trail, it's accessibility to be able to come to a public meeting. Well, at least that's how I interpret that. You can say accessibility, but then you really talk about a very specific group of people. But and maybe we should say both, maybe it's trails and it is be able to participate in meetings. But think about, what are your biggest challenges to make meetings accessible, or the trails? What is the greatest opportunity to make it accessible? And what is the lower hanging fruit in terms of accessibility? So that really covers the topics that we wanted to ask questions for. And for the interest of time, again, I thank you for the opportunity to share this with you, but we will share this now with you so you can fill this in at your own leisure. And if you can do it perhaps within a week, we will really appreciate that.
Thanks, Francois, for that. And we'll send around links to the Forbes article. If you would rather just email back some of these, and technology is frightening, don't worry about that. You can just let us know where to plug things in, and we're happy to do that. But we very much hope this is the start of a dialogue with you all. You have very valuable input and feedback for us, and we do want to make sure that we do this master planning process correct and include everyone. We're just really getting going in our public engagement. We hope over the next couple of months to really start doing some in-person groups, some focus groups, more interviews. We'll see where we are with COVID, of course, but we'll make it as accessible as we can for everyone. And we're also hoping to have a project website up and running around the 1st of September, just to be able to have current timelines, have information, and have opportunities for people to be able to still provide input. But I really appreciate all of your time today. This is enormously helpful, and it's great to meet you all.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I have a quick question. Oh, I think. Oh.
Question real quick, and I know DTJ is doing surveys at the trailheads to collect
Yes.
information.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, as part of that, are you collecting like preferred language or demographic info, that type of info when you're doing those surveys?
We are getting some good information, and part of our rush to kind of get some of those intercept surveys done was to catch some of the summer visitors before they left. So right now we have a survey that's very geared towards the visitor. We're working on more of a local resident one that we can add more information to. And so that will be coming soon. We just wanted to catch some of those visitors before they leave the area with school starting. But that will be coming soon, and we are getting some of that information. We're also tag teaming with the BTO on a post-visitor survey that they have been doing this summer, which they collect a lot of great demographic information on that as well, and just adding in a few of our open space and trails related questions to get going on that. But we also have been talking about doing a survey when we have time, and non-competing surveys with some of what BTO is doing. So hopefully all of that will be coming soon.
Wait, and really quick, Francois, can you make Town of Breckenridge the host again before you?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, certainly. I'll definitely
Do
that.
you have different languages like Dick was saying for the maps currently?
Sadly, we do not. This is, I mean, one of the issues that we've had. We've been just very kind of mono-focused in English. And that's one of the things that I hope comes out of this plan, is the need to have other languages, and also at our trailheads and everything else, to make that all further accessible.
I would call that low-hanging fruit. To at
Excellent.
least expand
Yeah.
the languages on the map.
Absolutely.
That's something that just get translated, printed, and
Yep.
done.
Perfect. I like
Hey,
that.
Ann, another thing, if you want to continue this work, because it's probably a journey, you
Mhm,
know,
very
maybe
much.
even beyond your study and master plan. I think we could form a smaller working group here that would be a little easier to schedule, and, you know, so we could get 2 or 3 members of the commission.
Oh, I'd love it.
To be a smaller, and I'm speaking for everyone, so they
Yeah,
agree
no,
or
I
don't
would,
agree.
I would love to be a
But
part
we
of
could
that.
get 2 or 3 of the folks up here to create a small working group to
Yeah.
work with you.
Oh, thank you. That'd
So,
be
you
perfect.
know, and that way it'd be easier to schedule and all of that. So.
Fabulous.
I'm on board with you, Ann.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is really helpful.
Yeah, I'll be happy to be part of that too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ann.
And thank you.
Thanks, Francois.
Well, thank you so much as well for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
But
Okay. So is it time for other matters, or we have something
No, there's
for
2
that? That's
more.
the council connection?
There's the community meeting planning and then the council connection.
Okay. So,
And then, not to throw a wrench on this, but as I was thinking about, like, we got the doodle poll, and it looks like Shannon put September 8th as a date, I guess worked for most of us. But throwing this out to the commission, where I know we want to get out there, we want to get our message out there, but wondering if, like, us as commissioners, would we feel more confident maybe after another session with Monica, once maybe we feel more confident in what our public facing vision is? Or is it something like we want to get out there our initial community meeting, or would it be something worth delaying till after we meet with Monica? Just a question.
My opinion is, for clarity, I think we should go ahead and meet with Monica one more time, not rush to something, so we wouldn't have to pull it back. And maybe it'll just solidify what we already have, but it seems like if we're gonna have that 2-hour meeting with her, it wouldn't be bad to wait till after that, but that's my opinion.
So push it out another month into October or something.
Mhm.
Are we talking about the coffee meet and greet?
Yeah, just
Okay.
the informal coffee.
Okay.
meeting.
Well, the
With
coffee
the
meeting, I
public.
thought you meant dispersing like our image and our mission.
Oh, well,
No,
I
the
guess
meet
that
and
would be
greet, I'm
part of
fine
it.
with
Okay.
Doing that whenever.
I think as long as it's posed as a, like, meet the commissioners, not a,
This is who we are.
we're going to present, like, I think at the the mayor, the coffee with the mayor always does like a presentation. I think if this wasn't like that and was understood, like, hey, this is just meet the commissioners, get to know who everybody is, and everybody speaks on their own behalf, I think that's fine. And we can gather information, of course, always, like, we can,
And
you
the
know,
more,
get people's thoughts.
I totally agree with you. I think the more information that we can present Monica with, that we've been presented with to get her professional feedback on, is going to, you know,
Oh, that's excellent,
escalate us
Tasha.
into what we've been wanting to do this whole time. So I think it's not necessarily negative to have that meet and greet, under the understanding that we are meeting and greeting. Meeting and greeting. And, you know, just listen and retain and thank and appreciate people that are coming forward with things that they want to evolve and change. Always encouraging that. And then as much as information as we can present to Monica, like, hey, we've been, you know, presented with this and been talked to about that. What is your input? That's, I feel like, how we're.
Oh,
gonna-
can we label it kind of like a meet and greet and listening session? So there's not any
Listening, yeah.
expectation of us conveying
Talking.
whatever it is that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, we
And
talked
we're on the
about
receiving end.
Listening session would be
our I
great, yeah.
statements as last time, as like, as far as like stating your opinion, being that of your own.
Mhm.
You know, I feel, not, have a beat until we can talk about anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I think meet and greet covers that though. I think meet and greet covers that, but
All right. Yeah, let's go for it with the meet and greet before we
Monica.
connect with Monica, and it'll just be informal. I just think if we're clear on the language, it should be fine.
Okay, yeah, that's a
I-
great point. And Taj, you had a great point.
And I think we do have a bit of a story. to tell. I mean, we have got some work done. I mean, our internal work with the town of Breck staff is, I know, I mean, it came out of the commission. It hasn't been actively worked on as the whole group, but, it is being worked on, as well as, translating the town's website and meeting notice, all this stuff. So we've got some accomplishments
Mhm.
under our belt and I do feel like we're starting to, I mean, I think this meeting with Ann is huge.
So I think that's
And the
great.
orchestra?
Yeah, exactly. Meeting with the NRO, that was huge.
Get a little
So I
something.
think we are, we are, we have more accomplishments than we realize, even though we are still trying to, build our foundation.
Mhm.
And then for the actual meeting, would we have maybe the chair or vice chair, maybe just give a little spiel, not so much a
Yeah,
presentation at the
exactly.
beginning, and then we just open it up for informal,
Is this for the
Listening
meet and greet
question.
or for the,
for the coffee.
For the
meet
coffee,
and
okay,
greet.
gotcha.
Would that work, you think, just to,
Do you want to give a presentation?
yeah, what,
just like an informal,
I was
like,
gonna say,
talk about the commission?
okay, so what are some bullet points? I would say maybe like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, the steps that we've taken, to get us here, so
Okay.
like. And I went blank.
It's all right.
Forming our guidelines.
our own education would be
Yep.
one of the first that we got educated with
Uh-huh.
Monica.
The equity.
I think it goes all the way back to 40 applicants in the
Yeah.
interview process and the selection process,
That's
and,
true.
Yeah,
I think probably you guys could attest to that better.
yeah,
than
I mean,
us.
we can all kind of weigh in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I also think that all of the organizations that we have met with,
Yeah.
you know, which,
Oh, the NRO, DTJ. We met, BHA. Sorry, these are all acronyms.
Yeah, I'm like-
National Repertory Orchestra, Breckenridge Heritage Alliance.
What does
The-
DTJ stand for?
Design, no, I have no idea.
Well,
They're a
so
consultant.
it's a-
They're
So it's a
just like-
consulting
know,
company to help the open space and trails.
Okay,
You said DTJ, okay, and then NRO DTJ,
Yeah, Open
Sorry.
Space
I
and
know you're
Trails
fine.
and their consultant.
And they're consulted, yeah.
and I'll ask Shannon about all this stuff.
I should know what DTJ stands for, but.
I don't know what
I
DTJ
was part of
stands
the
for.
selection committee.
It might be initials.
It doesn't feel like we're getting a lot done, but we're slowly doing more than I think we realize.
I partially agree, I partially disagree, but yes, we are taking steps, but you know, always trying to focus on the goal.
Oh, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
we have such an uphill battle, and we need to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we're realizing that one of our challenges is to focus and prioritize because there is so much work to do.
This is true.
I agree with you. I feel like there's an uphill battle, but I don't think it's a negative connotative thing. It's like something that, I mean, it's almost like when people want to enlist in the army. It's like you want to fight this battle. This is something that I am excited about. So yeah, we have that, but
Yeah.
it's a good thing. It needs to
Yeah,
happen. So let's do
Well, I
it.
just think that we see that a lot of times people make lists, they analyze. I'm like, okay, but we need to get about the do and the change also. I know that it's all important steps, but sometimes we get mired down in the process. Because one of the things, just talking to Francois, comes to me about is what sounds like it was boiling down to is everyone, not just the committee, but everyone invite someone that you wouldn't normally invite to go do something is what I kept thinking about. Because it's easy to invite your friends, it's easy to invite your family, but how easy is it to invite that person that you don't have something in common with, whether they're differently abled, whether they're deaf, whether they're of a different religion or ethnicity? That's what Americans in general need to do. I don't know you, let's get to know you. So that's just what I kept thinking about, because we're working on making lists and there's no app for that. Let's put it that way. And that's what we really need is just everyone needs to do a little bit more and work outside their comfort zone.
Well, Jason, in the spirit of, you know, honoring your desire to take action, because I'm an action person too, do you think that we should put a deadline in place in order to know, to kind of hold ourselves accountable to if we're kind of getting stuck in a certain space as opposed to moving forward? Or do you think we just take our time and do what needs to be done?
No, I think we need to take our time to do a thing. I think, you know, as a whole, we need to recognize our milestones as we achieve them, but just realizing it's a big, big hill. And, you know, you can look at it two ways. You can look at glass half full or glass half empty. My point is, I just don't want to rest on our laurels and pat ourselves on the back. I want to keep moving.
And Alexandria, my thought on your question is, I think we should ask Monica that question. Because that's what she does. Is she is all about the process and helping us set up the structure. And she would have great advice on should we, you know, are there checkpoints along the way where we kind of, you know, take a look at ourselves and are honest with ourselves. And as Jason said, get the work done to be successful in the long run, but at the same time, accomplish some stuff
Along the way,
But the
right?
blueprint that she's putting together, I think it was quarterly, right? Where there were checkpoints that were built in. with the
She's
blueprint.
forcing the process to build in
What have we
checkpoints.
accomplished? kind of thing.
And I'm not trying to be negative, because I'm the first one who was like, well, let's get a basis, let's get a vision. But my point is, it's easy to get mired down in list taking and analytics. I want to actually make some change. And we're just not necessarily seeing it. I just want to make sure that we keep doing that. We keep pushing.
And that's a great point, just reevaluating to make sure that we do have action. We're not just.
And following up with people like DTJ and a year from now. I say, so how are we looking? Instead of just talking about
what
it,
have you done? Yeah.
if it's like, if you task people, whether it's staff or anything else, if you just say, hey, this is a great idea, but you don't follow up, it doesn't get done. So one of the big things is checking in with these people, checking in with the NRO in 6 months or a year and say, hey, we had this meeting, we talked about X, Y, and Z. Where are you at today? And
Well,
DTJ and
Just
Go
circling back to the technical side of this, the
Sure.
community meeting. Do we feel comfortable going ahead and creating a Facebook post, an event to start to get the word out?
sure.
Okay, and do we want to have people email for translation needs or work on having a translator there no matter what? That
think-
depends on, okay.
Need to have one, yeah.
And I will get that running. I just wanted to let you guys know my last day at the town is August 25th. So, but I will do my best to get things rolling. So, yeah.
Where do we want to have this meeting? This open house, this whatever we're called, meet and greet.
A great question.
That's a good question. Well, what resources do we want to provide for the meeting? Chairs, sitting, standing room, food, no food, like coffee, no coffee, things like that. That's
Yeah.
it. That's where we would.
Awesome. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Are we providing coffee?
What's that?
Are we providing coffee or we're just inviting coffee?
should, right?
We should
coffee.
provide
We
coffee.
provide something, yeah.
And I think pastries,
That's the thing. That's the thing.
bread.
Well, I think we have
I'm gonna have to go.
multicultural snacks.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted
that's
to-
good.
I don't know if we have time to discuss or where we are with having like a work session, a session that's off the record. I only have a couple minutes to talk about it, or we can talk about it later.
Either way, did you see the email I sent?
I saw one email. No, I didn't see the one yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So it was, for better or for worse, it's town council rules. So we can
Okay.
only have an executive session if it's about legal counsel or human resources or land acquisition, that sort of thing. And so unfortunately, we can't have private discussions with the whole group. We could have I think there, you can have, well, I know you can have breakout sessions for like subcommittees, that sort of thing, that are not public.
Okay. Well, that settles that. So we'll have a few topics for the next meeting. All I want to do is make sure for next meeting, we have a discussion to talk about how to move forward with chief and making that subcommittee, because I don't want to let that linger and fall between the cracks. And I'm fine with it being a subcommittee, you, me, and at least one other person, but I don't want to let the chief just out there wondering what's going on, and I don't want to forget about it. So
Was it Sarah or Joyce that wanted to be on that?
I mean, she wanna be on it, me, if I find it enough time to hear and about, because I'm very interested, because just wondering what's going on. you know?
Yeah, I think
And just figure it
either
out,
one
yeah.
of you guys would be great. You know,
so let's just figure that out and put a date on
I
it.
think Joyce is more.
Okay, I'm gonna have to run, but I just want to make sure you brought that up. Thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say before you left,
well, you could even
as far
tag
as
team,
like
but it's
goals
probably
and everything
better
go,
to
like
have the same
our
person.
coffee talk is like the first time we as a group are like getting information directly from people outside of them coming here to speak to us. So like as far as accomplishments go, like that's pretty cool as a group. You know, just one of the little things, like it's our first time like actually going out, like hearing what people have to say
That's
in
true.
a more informal setting. So to get that far is pretty cool.
What place is considered centrally located in Summit County?
Well, it would be Breckenridge, because remember this.
That's Breckenridge. This is a Breckenridge
Well, it's upper
committee.
blue, but it's really Breckenridge.
Oh.
I thought they were saying some coffee shops the last time we were talking about it.
I think if the weather permits, we could do it outside.
Yeah, definitely
Like Blue
outside,
River
for sure.
Plaza, I think that
Yeah.
when we did the solidarity talk, we all ended up there, and that was in a great space with sitting room and kind of you can create like an open forum so people can see you, and I thought that was a really good location, close to Clint's.
I would suggest Carter Park Pavilion, because then if it rains, you can be underneath there. And it's just tucked away so that you're not having like too much interference with people walking through.
Tourists.
Great, that's a
Oh.
good suggestion. Yeah, there's parking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Carter
Carter
Park.
Park would be great.
Really.
I I agree.
Okay, where are we at on the agenda? Are we in the community meeting planning or the council connection?
Community meeting planning.
Okay. So the council process, work sessions and regular meetings. What would we like to discuss about that?
So this, I don't think it'll take too long, but I know we touched on it last meeting, just the council process. And since then, Shannon sent us all the council agenda.
Mhm.
So I thought, I mean, it takes a second to understand how to navigate that system. So I asked to see if Haley could maybe just screen share and show us how to look at an agenda to understand what are the discussion items and see if anyone has questions.
How do I screen share on this? I don't know.
And I'll let Aaron or Dick jump in, but council, we meet every second and fourth Tuesday, and we have 2 sessions. So the first session is the work session, and that's really where we're talking through, council is talking through different issues, gathering information. And then the regular session, that's really where we formally vote on things. So if you are interested in a certain topic, the work session is what provides.
Set up, I can't share this screen.
Ah,
I have to use a different computer.
Can you
So,
just, like share that internet tab
yeah, let's see.
through that green arrow maybe?
Oh, here we go. It might, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't mess up this system. Okay, okay, go ahead. Sorry, Carol.
yeah, perfect. So I think the link Shannon sent us was this, or the links with the different items. So the one that's agenda only, it's really strictly agenda. Like
And
you,
that's what you'll see when you get the email is those 4 different links. And just to interject real quick, I mean, basically there's 2 meetings, 2 separate meetings. We do a work session in the afternoon, which typically will start between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, depending on how long the agenda is. And that typically goes right up until the meeting at 7. So, we just look at how much work we have to do, and it's usually starts at 3, but it can be longer or shorter.
And that's where, sorry, that's where the work is done. Like, I
Correct.
think it's important, like, even though it's called a work session, the regular meeting, I think a lot of people join the regular meeting thinking they're gonna see stuff happen. We're really in the regular meeting, it's usually just voting. And there's some public comment, which is great, like that part is good if you have it. But the work is like the conversation, how we come to our decisions happens in the work session.
Yeah, and for example, if we're gonna pass an ordinance, okay, so we're gonna make a law, pass an ordinance, change an ordinance, change code, any of those type actions that we do quite often. It'll start in a work session. Staff will come, somebody will bring it up with an idea, or Eric or Rick or Shannon will say, this is something that we need to work on. Staff will come bring a presentation. Maybe we spend 15 minutes, maybe we spend 2 hours on it with staff talking. Often there are people in the audience. Typically, you're not entitled to speak during work session as an audience member, but Eric has set the precedent. Eric always lets people speak during work session, but it's really the choice of the mayor. So we'll have this work session. We'll kind of come to a conclusion. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 work sessions, but we'll come to the conclusion. We'll give staff direction in how to write the ordinance. They'll bring it back to the next council meeting as a first reading. Again, it goes to the work session. We will read the actual ordinance, which will be in these packets. And then we'll have comments, well, we need to tweak it this way or that way, or didn't quite capture it, or this or that, and we'll tweak it. If we didn't tweak it too much, then it'll come to the night meeting where we will pass the first reading of the ordinance. Okay, all ordinances go for 2 readings. So then 2 weeks later, it'll come back for a second reading. You can make small edits between first reading and second reading. And then second reading always comes with a formal public comment period by right. Okay. Again, first reading, Eric always gives the opportunity for public comment. Second reading, we give opportunity for public comment. And that happens at town council. Once we pass it as second reading, there is a 35-day waiting period before it actually becomes ordinance. So that's the process for passing an ordinance and changing a code, making a law, any of those things. And so there's, as you're reading this, that'll kind of give you an idea of what we're working on. There's a lot of reporting that happens during the work session where it's not necessarily leading to an ordinance or a resolution or something, but it's staff reporting to keep council informed. Yeah, and what do you guys want to add, Aaron, Carol?
I think that's it. On those 4 links we had, that Shannon will send out before every council
Yeah,
meeting.
there they are.
I would
right
say
there.
if you just have time to click on one, I'd click the work session agenda packet. And when you click on that, that's this one here where you can scan the topics. So you can say you were really concerned about the parking garage or one item, something under the legislative heading. You can, so say amenity club, the first line there, you're like, oh, what's that about? You click on it, it takes you there. And that's how you navigate the packet.
Okay, so would you guys, are you showing this to us because you want us to become engaged in the conversation with the town council, or
Well, we'd like.
are we making laws too, or what are we doing here?
I think it's a great opportunity, and if you have time to do what Carol just said, if you simply look at that agenda, I mean, the whole packet can be 300 pages. This is 62. That's the shortest packet we've had all year. That was the last meeting. I mean, but there'll be 150, 200, 250, 300. You don't need to look at it all. Just go down the agenda. And if you see something that looks interesting, you just put your cursor on it and you can click it and it goes right to the staff report that we read with regards to that agenda item. So don't, if nothing really is turning your crank, don't look at any of it. Just you've seen the agenda we're going to work on, so you're aware. But if something looks really interesting, that's a trigger item for you, skim through, click on it, put your cursor on that agenda item on the agenda, click on it, and it'll take you to the whole packet that we read. So you get a ton of background information that we use to make decisions. And, we would love input. We would love for you guys to say, hey, this is something that's super important for us. And we may slow down the process a little and give the equity commission a chance to weigh in.
And so
Thank
the
you.
reason, the impetus for this, I feel strong, I don't want to say strongly. I guess there's an issue that I think I see, or we see in society, where policymakers don't know what they don't know, right? Like, we don't know, we're not seeing it through everybody's lens. And that's part of the reason why we have this equity commission, right? Is to help us see what we don't see. And I think what's tough, like, I want to be able to, and hopefully Dick and Carol will all, if there's something that we think could be, or that we could predict could be an issue that we're not seeing how other people might see it from other vantage points, we'll bring it to you. The issue is that that's not always the case, where, like, I don't feel confident always catching, like, I might be interpreting something like, oh yeah, this is good for everyone. But I mean, I feel like you could go back in history and interpret, like, policymakers making policies and saying, well, this is good for all the people I know. Why isn't it good for you? So I think this is a way so that the Equity Commission can play a part and hopefully, and I hate putting the onus on you all, but seeing things that we don't see, like, yeah, the amenity club. Like, I don't think that there was any issue with other groups, but I don't know, like, it's tough. So I guess it's a way to proactively chip away at it. And I think, and it's unfortunate Jason's not here, because I do think that this is a way that we can make change now. Like, if you, I can't breathe. Sorry. We're all staff, so I'm just gonna. But, like, we're all, this is a way, like, if you see something in the next meeting or the next ordinance, we could bring it up and that's change right there, right? Like, if you catch something that we're not seeing, then that's a way to make change, like, this month. So anyway, that's. my
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys taking us into consideration with
Also
aligning.
looked at it not on town council, but like I've flipped through it this morning, like prior to coming in, and there is like a ton of information in that packet.
Yeah.
Did anything stick out to you that we could be a part of the conversation?
Nothing in particular. They're just, I mean, there's always so much stuff going on in town that it was, for me today was just like, oh, I knew this was going on. Oh, this is what's going on. with that. Like kind of,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, but I mean, even still just to look at that stuff, having never looked at it in the 6 years that I've lived here.
To highlight that, one of the points of going over this is like, there's certain things with government, we have constraints. Like we talked about the 2 meetings, work meeting, regular meeting. Regular meetings happen every second and fourth Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Like that is the system, like, and being able to read the packet, like that's part of the system. And part of this is, it's so long, we're not putting it on you, like, we want you to read, see what we're missing, but kind of giving you the tools, like, this is how it works, and letting you know that if you have questions about anything, all 3 of us are resources, because this stuff is a little complicated, and knowing how the system works makes us all more efficient. Is what.
If nothing else, if you can get out to your communities, that this information is available to everyone. So if you go on the town's website, you can sign up to have that exact page emailed to you, second and fourth Thursdays prior to our meetings. So, that's how I ended up on council for 15 years. Probably I've received that email because I signed up, and, so I've been able to watch, read, pay attention. And it's really how people become far more active in the running of our community, of some of the government side of our
And if,
community.
even if there's just, a question that you're like, oh, I wonder if anybody's thought about this, or something like that, or whatever, have us, and we can ask it. It's not like, I mean, I don't mean to speak well of you, but like, we're not any more qualified than the next person to be doing this job, right?
No, that's
So like,
exactly right.
you
Less qualified in many areas, honestly. I mean, we all have our own
Yeah.
expertise.
So if you see something and you're just, I wonder if anybody's thought about that, or like, what does that mean, or what does that do? Ask us. We don't know the answers, and we should be asking, at the time we're voting. So thank you. Also.
Yeah,
I think
thank you.
I think it's a great resource to be proactive. And I think it's, like you guys said, it's really important to know your resources as a community member, as a commission member, and just as like, an American person that lives in this, country, to just know your resources. And like you said, know how the system works and how it is working, 2 different things, and kind of be proactive about it.
Yeah, good stuff. Awesome. So did you have anything to cover with the commission process for reviewing, creating, or advising, or
I
was this
think
a
we
part of the
can
conversation?
save that. I think this was just the first step we wanted
Okay.
to talk about.
Excellent, excellent. So are there any other matters? It's time for other matters. Do any commissioners have any other matters to discuss?
I just got a text from Jeffrey. He was the guy in the corner there. So he's on council, and he had to run for an appointment because he has so many appointments because he's an old guy and hasn't been that healthy. Side note.
Well, you're in the gym this morning.
Oh, nice. But he just wanted to
Jump
say
all
he
over
was
Mark.
so glad to be able to sit in. He's appreciative to listen in. We'll be back again, and says just thank you. So
Aw,
I'll relay that
that's
from
sweet.
Jeffrey.
Is there any
I-
ideas?
Under other, I would encourage, 2 or 3 members of the commission to think about, being on this open space,
Oh, yeah, I'm on it.
because I think that's super important
Me
that,
too.
and I don't think that Carol, Aaron, and I need to be one of the 3. I think it should be others, because we need some different lenses in that group. We've accomplished as a community so much around open space and trails. Now it's time to circle back and be more, really have a lens of DEI
Mhm.
on top of it.
Yes,
Well, and
I agree.
Open Space is the other commission that I serve on, so, yeah, I don't need to be part of the group. However, if I can help facilitate in any way, please let me know.
Yeah, well, you might attend some of the meetings from the open space side.
Yeah, exactly. They already have my information. I can only tell them what I think so many different ways. But really, if there's anything I can do to help facilitate, I'm just so glad that you,
Yeah.
you're
And
so generous with your time.
Thank
I
you.
think Ann is phenomenal, staff person, team member to work with. I think there's a lot of great opportunity there.
Awesome.
To second your point, with the subcommittees, with what you and Jason were talking about with the other subcommittee that you want to form,
With the chief, with the police
I think
advisory.
it's so important. I think it's awesome that Joyce or Isa want to go to it. I'm speaking for myself here. I definitely think that there should be a person of color that's represented within that
Absolutely.
subforum, just because, I mean, for obvious reasons, I don't even.
Or,
really have
or
to go
maybe
into it.
2 people of color.
Yeah, so definitely, and you are a person of color, so, you know, I mean that, whether that be you, me, her, anybody, Jordan,
If it's 4 people, that's fine too.
Right,
It's
yeah.
just people that have some flexibility in their schedule is. probably
Mhm.
key.
But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, because I think it's important.
And
Definitely.
we need to, I mean, you're absolutely right, Taj. We need to really follow up and keep charging on both of these subcommittees, because that's where you'll find you'll get some work done, you know, a little more quickly is when we can peel off a smaller group that can dive into an issue and then bring it back to the bigger group and, you know, keep the bigger group informed and give the bigger group a chance to weigh in on the issue. But, you know, it often takes a lot more than once a month to get some things done.
Well,
So,
and-
Dick, do you want, I'm sorry, who?
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just gonna say, and to clarify, like, with DTJ and the open space plan, that's happening. Like, there is a timeline, it is going to be created. I think- I can't remember what the timeline is, but you're going to see results from that. Not to say you won't with the other, I'm not trying to sell that as a committee. I'm taking it deeper, but as far as, you know, seeing work get done, it's going to happen because it has.
So with the subcommittee for the police, what do you want to call it? I'm sorry.
Just a working group to work with the chief.
So it would be you, Jason.
Well, the only
And
reason that
Joyce
2
or
of us
Isana?
would be on it is just because we kind of brought it up initially through the police advisory committee.
Right.
So we were already kind of started working with the chief on it. So now we want to broaden it. So I think we could add 1 to 2 more people.
Okay.
And I was thinking either
Isa?
Isa or Joyce.
Would you like to be a
whoever
part of the police officer
I
subcommittee?
feel like I have more time than Joyce, so I
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
And do we want
So-
to add a 4th?
so that's gonna be Dick,
I mean, Taj, did
Jason,
you wanna be on
Isara,
it?
and Taj. We've got
That'd
our
be Great,
police officers subcommittee.
cool.
Boom. And then I want to definitely be on open spaces.
So does Jay.
Okay.
Cool.
And Jordan.
And you know, I'd like to be involved too, just from the more mountain dreamer perspective, because we have
Yes.
dug into this issue. So I bring some of that knowledge too, but I think if anyone else is interested too, that we,
Carol,
And that one too.
Carol and Joyce. Okay, boom. Look at us getting stuff done. Okay.
With that, do you want to have a meeting with DTJ, or do you want to work on that link that they're gonna send?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to work on the link together so that all of our voices are heard, but to address different areas with them in a more intimate setting. So like you said, we can help them see what they can't see.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because if you wanted to have a meeting, then like we would have to get that ball rolling, but yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
That's great.
All right,
I've
I
only
like
got, like, one other thing that's been on my mind.
Sure.
And it's, I guess I just want to, I don't know how, but at RIT, every TV we had on campus had closed captions on it. And I was just wondering if there was a way we could get restaurants to kind of buy into that idea as well and turn on the closed captions. Because nothing was, I was talking to my mom about it the other day, but nothing was more comforting than going to our student union by myself, eating lunch, being able to read ESPN and have my headphones in. And, you know, if I didn't want to interact, I didn't have to, but the ability to still be attentive to the world, because like, oh, I could look up at the TV and go, okay, ha, 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 he said something funny, and like go back to like looking at my phone or whatever. And like here you go out and you eat, and there's so much ambient sounds that even if you're not talking to the bartender, or you're waiting on a friend, you're like, well, I'm gonna sit here and look at my phone and be even more cold almost compared to like looking around the room and looking at screens, and you almost accidentally getting yourself caught into a conversation because now you're looking around the room versus anything like that. But nonetheless,
And also to be inclusive for people that are other impaired. And yeah, I think that's a small thing that I feel like would make a huge difference to people that live within that
yeah, and
reality.
it's unfortunate. Like I don't think, because closed captions really haven't been tended to since their creation, in my opinion. Like they're not sculpted for TV. Because if you think when you put on closed captions on ESPN, what do? They cover the ticker at the bottom. So you're like, oh, now I can't see something else I want to see. Like, or like when you're watching something, like the captions come up too fast. And you're like, oh, dang, there was that line before they said it. Like they're not.
Sounds like Jordan
sculpted.
has a coding project.
It's not like sculpted for dialogue. They're not positioned on a TV per show to fit in a way that's elegant. And granted, you can change them, depending on what your needs are to see. But that presentation hasn't been altered really since in years. Like there's no clean, or hasn't been a clean way to show it. But I just think that they should be more prevalent in town. Because I would like to see them, just because I got so used to seeing them for so long.
Yeah, and that it is
And-
really inclusive.
I want to add even for like, at least for me, for being a second language, English, my second language, I always had closed caption in my house and all my TVs, because it's some words that you don't really understand when you're listening, and I'm always like reading. And I like, for my husband, he's American, it's kind of annoying for him, but he used to it now, because he's like, oh, well, we have, but this for me a better way to understand where they're saying, what the movie's about, or yeah. But I agree with Jordan on the news, they're not great. They're always like running behind or slower, but I guess it's hard to do the closed caption with an active talking,
Well, I mean, they don't even have them in movies, and like that bothers me the most, because like if you watch a movie at home with closed captions, you get all the little sounds and like even the name of the song that's playing.
They do, yeah.
Like when you go to a movie theater, like how like limiting is that? You're like, wow, like even now, like with COVID, you're like, cool, there's 20% full in a movie theater, but like would that be higher if it had captions because people could come read?
Yeah.
Like like why aren't, like, even if you
That's
put that
amazing.
above or below a screen in a movie theater, not on the screen itself, like that would be huge. Especially people with kids, you have to look away for a second, or just being able to understand the perspective of what's going on.
No, those are great points. And from
But
an
sorry, I just love
actionable,
closed-
no,
I love closed
that is really
captions.
great from actionable items, because what town can do, and Haley, could you look into what we can do to put closed captions on town meetings? Like, I think there's some software there. From the private business perspective, we can only do so much, but Dick is part of the restaurant association. And I don't know, Dick, you could maybe bring that up at a meeting for
we could bring that up.
places with TV. And for the third action item, the speakeasy would just taken over by Breck Film. So I don't know, we could touch base with them.
Yeah.
The rec
Even
centers
if
have them
it's-
when, because they have all those TVs lined up. Making sure, our rec centers and things like that have them on the TVs.
They do.
Yeah, I
Because
thought
I
they
don't
did.
listen at the rec center, I just read.
Okay, I thought they did. I was just making
That
sure.
way I can look at all the different TVs and read what I want.
My opinion on it is at the bare minimum, because with so many places showing the same thing on so many screens, if a screen in a direction, so it's like if you could easily look in a direction and see multiple screens, if at least one of them had closed captions on, because it doesn't have to be every screen in an establishment, but it just has to be some. or the ones that are, you know, if you can see multiple screens, there's always one that you can see that has closed captions on it. So, you know, that way it's not annoying for everyone. Because, you know, some people hate them. They're cool, but
No,
I mean, they don't
Jordan,
understand
that's
what's going on with their
fantastic.
shows, and that's fine too.
That's fantastic. Yeah. When's your next meeting with the restaurant? Is it the restaurant committee? Is that what?
Association.
Association?
I believe there's one this week or next, maybe tomorrow, actually. I can't go to
Oh,
the next one, so I kind of, because I have a special meeting for council,
oh.
so I can't go to that
So
one.
many meetings.
But
do
usually
you
we'll
have a-
meet every month, so. it'll
Do you
probably
have
be
like
next
a open forum for public comment like we do, or is it
month.
just?
Yeah, I mean, we'll allow people, as long as it's not a sales pitch.
Mhm.
You know, it used to be we'd have open forum and all the salesmen would come in and want to sell us something. And so as long as it's not somebody trying to sell us something, sure. I mean, anybody can come.
Jordan,
talk.
would you like to present the idea to the restaurant association?
Yeah. When is it?
He'll
I'll have to
double check.
I'll have to let you know. It'll be a month from now, because I think the agenda is already set and everything for the one that, I believe it's this week. When do we interview? When do we have our special
Wednesday.
meeting? Huh?
Wednesday.
Yeah, so I think the meeting's Wednesday
That would
this
be
week,
awesome.
but it's probably too quick to get on that
Oh,
agenda.
you think so? Okay.
So it'll be in a month.
It's been on my
Sure.
mind for a bit now.
Okay, excellent. Well, this was awesome. It's always awesome though. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Well done. Don't you think Alexander's be?
Oh my God, Dick, stop. He's trying to recruit me for the school board.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Sada.
Nice to see you all. See you in person next time.